I had all of my staff essentially set up a coup, and almost everybody, and I had like 16 people, I think that 10 or 12 people all walked out in 1 day or 2 days on me. And they all went to start a flight school. They found an investor, bought a bunch of airplanes, and they all left. And they took all my clients. And the part that wasn't sad about me almost losing my business over that time was they actually killed aviation and killed the passion for aviation for so many students because they badmouthed me so much over things that weren't true. And they convinced them to go to this new flight school. What happened later was 3 months after that started, they went out of business. The investor was this big drug dealer, and there was this whole thing that went on, and it's all over the internet now, so I can talk about it. And a whole bunch of those students came back, but there's a whole bunch of people that lost their passion for aviation because they thought that was normal in this industry. And that made me really sad. And I look back at that, and that was definitely a pivotal moment. It showed me that I always am a little too trusting with people. I like to think that everybody's a good person inside.
Welcome to A Founder's Life. I'm your host, Leo Gestetner. On this show, we dive into the real stories behind the highs and lows of entrepreneurship and how we pursue a more balanced and meaningful life along the way. This podcast is sponsored by Thanks, helping founders like us scale with reliable remote talent. Email founders@thanks.com, that's THANKZ.com, with the subject line A Founder's Life, and you'll receive preferred pricing. I'm excited today to be joined by Brandon Martini. Brandon, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, first off, thank you, Leo, for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it. As you said, my name is Brandon Martini. I'm the founder or co-founder and co-CEO of Stratus Financial. And also, if you're watching us on video, Aviation Mentors podcast. So thank you so much for having me on here. We're changing pilots' lives one life at a day by financing their futures.
Nice introduction. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about your journey that brought you to where you are today, and then a little more about what your company does for its customers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the journey on an entrepreneur actually starts out when you're really young. I'll give you a quick example of my son that happened yesterday. I asked him to clean my garage, and instead of him doing it, it was his tools that he'd left out, by the way, or my tools that he left out all over the garage. And he convinced his buddies to clean it for him, and he just supervised, and he traded them some bike parts for it. And I thought that was really interesting because, and the reason why that's relevant is when I was a kid, I used to do the same exact thing. So I think entrepreneurship starts at a very young age. It starts something kind of inside of you, something that really draws your attention towards to being excellent or doing things, almost being lazy, but not being lazy, coming up with a creative solution for some of the world's problems. And in my son's case yesterday, it was cleaning the tools up off the garage from him working on his bicycles. And so I started out when I was a little kid. I used to buy and sell and paint little birdhouses, and I sold them in the back of my dad's body shop to his customers, which was kind of funny. Now that I think about it, back in the day, didn't make any money, but it kept me entertained as a child. From then forward, I ended up working as an auto adjuster for many years and a sales representative selling products for horses. And my first foray into really becoming an entrepreneur was starting my flight schools. And I did it like every entrepreneur does. I bootstrapped it the way that you have to, right? So I borrowed money from 3 different people. I told everyone I already had a third of the money for the airplane already. And of course, I had $0 to my name. I was out of money because I had spent all of it on credit cards and flight training. So I was like, I got to figure out how to continue flying. And ended up starting up a flight school in Riverside, California. I rented a $96 a month closet that I converted into a full-fledged operating flight school and office. And that's where we started. From that point, we expanded to 14 aircraft, 2 locations, all the FAA certifications, and also my full service maintenance facility for aircraft. That morphed obviously to something today that I have, which is Aviation Mentors podcast, and more importantly, Stratus Financial. We now fund students in 38 states, over 430 flight schools across North America. Number 113 Inc. 5,000 as of last week, which was kind of neat. I went to that event, 40 under 40 in business aviation. I did that 2 weeks ago, and we are for the third year in a row, fastest growing company in Orange County, which is in Southern California over here where I'm at.
Wow, lots of congratulations there.
Thank you. It's been a fun ride so far.
And tell us a little more about family, about your kids.
Yeah, so I have one son, and his name is Austin, and he's 14 years old. He just started high school this year. Being a father is something I never expected. When I was younger, it wasn't something that I was looking to do in my life, but it has unexpected rewards. Having a family and having a son and seeing and raising them is it's really a treat, because you get to see the good and the bad that you have inside of you that you recognize, and you see it within them, and you see it within whoever your partner is as well in that individual. and you try to shape that individual into functioning human. And luckily, so far, I think I'm doing pretty good. He finally has some good grades in high school. And I'll tell you this, when he's passionate about something, he just goes after it. And I think that is one of the best things in life. I've been asking a lot of people about happiness, what happiness is. And I found out there's no such thing as happiness. And that may sound like an absurd statement, but it's contentment. If you can find contentment, you can find happiness. And I think that that's my biggest strength that I'm trying to instill in my son today. It's, are you content with what you're doing? And does that bring you happiness in a sort?
I love that. It's a good one. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, I've been asking a lot of people on what brings them happiness. And I've never had anybody answer the question. It's just, oh, it's just me. It's just happy. It's always being content with the situation you're in. And it's a really fantastic thought-provoking process you can put yourself through. Eventually, I'm going to write a book on it. I've been taking notes and asking people. I've probably asked 1,000 different people on happiness, and I've got a whole book full of notes. And one day I'll put them all together, or AI will help put them together for me. It's a more likely scenario.
Probably more likely. And what does health look like for you? Whether that be sleep, nutrition, fitness, how does staying healthy look?
Oh, health is transformed for me. You've only known me for about 6 months now or so since we initially first connected and spoke with each other on the phone. But if you would have known me 3 or 4 years ago, I was 100 pounds more. I weighed out at 283 pounds. I never went to the gym, maybe more than twice in my entire life. Now I'm in about 185. I lost all that weight. Intermittent fasting is a big quality for that. Outside of that, I started going to the gym about 1.5 years ago, and I've made the gym a weekly routine for me. I try to go in my home gym at least 15 to 30 minutes a day, and I go to the gym with my trainer at least twice a week. And if I'm traveling, I'm going to the gym in the hotels now. I think that it's a really important thing that you need to take care of your health. Otherwise, we're not going to be here very long. I mean, I see my parents, and they're not that healthy. I don't know if they've ever been to the gym. And I try to encourage them, hey, be healthy. You're not living here just for yourself. You're living here for others. So I think it's really important that we do take care of ourselves. As far as sleep goes, I wish I got more of it. I really optimally really like 8 or 9 hours. I know that sounds excessive, but if you look at some of the most successful people in the world, they have very interesting sleep schedules. Some of them sleep 2 hours on, work, go take another nap, and that's just how they function. Others, they need a ton of sleep, and others, they only need a little. So I like to go with whatever's good for me. It's 8 or 9 hours. Hardly ever get it, but I try.
Yeah, I mean, sleep is one of those underrated things. I think those who say they can get 2 or 3 hours sleep or 4 hours sleep are either freaks of nature or fooling themselves to a large extent. I think if you look at all the studies, I also wear a sleep tracker, but the body needs sleep. It's where we recover. Whether you need, some people might well be fine on 6 hours. Other people may need 9 hours. But the fact is, we need sleep. If I get 6 hours of sleep, I am performing at a lower level, both physically through running and things like that, mentally with work, than I am if I get 7 hours sleep or 7.5 hours sleep. I'd like to get 9 hours sleep. It doesn't happen. My body is way before 9 hours is saying, get up and get stuff done. But the 7.5 to 8 hours is certainly lovely, the times I get that. And yeah, as I said, I can see a difference between 7.5 hours and 6.5 hours.
Honestly, I was on a conference circuit for 2 weeks in a row. I came home for 18 hours last weekend to go spend some time with my son, and I was back again. And I'll tell you this, it was absolutely amazing because I went to sleep on Saturday night after being gone for those 2 weeks, and I think I got 10 hours of sleep. I woke up feeling so great. It was unbelievable. And honestly, I couldn't even believe I slept for 10 hours. That's not a normal thing for me. Just like,
that's nice.
Yeah, but it felt
your
really
body
good.
Obviously needed it.
Yeah. So you got to take care of yourself. It really helps with your brain. And there's a new tropic that I've started taking about 1 year ago called Alpha Brain. I don't know if you've heard about it. Joe Rogan speaks about it in his podcast. I think it might even be his brand. I will tell you that it has improved my cognitive function on meetings immensely. I mean, I'm not paid for them. They don't pay me, but I'm a big fan of it. It's called Alpha Brain.
I'll have to check that one out.
For sure.
And what do you like to do for fun?
Flying, obviously, as if anybody's watching, they can see I've got all my airplane stuff behind me. So aviation is really my passion. It's one of my favorite things to do in the world. I pretty much like everything except for being on the ground. And I love scuba diving. That is my next thing that I'm really, really into. I got into that about 2 years ago. Started off with me being deathly afraid of it because I had one of my friends pass away in a scuba diving accident. I tried to go and I couldn't do it. I decided that this wasn't for me. And I just jumped out of the boat. I went on the boat and I got a beer. I was like, I can't do this. I'm too stressed. And I wasn't going to do that. And then I just realized how much that was impacting me in my life. I couldn't believe I was that afraid of something. I'm not afraid of anything. in life. I always tackle those things as an entrepreneur and as a father and as a friend and as a spouse or a boyfriend or whatever it might be. I always do those things. And so I decided I would conquer my fear. And now it's one of my favorite things to do. I'm going on this cruise that's supposed to be for work, quote unquote. Next week, it is 2 days. It's a conference on the sea. So I will be working and I have a speaking slot there and things. But for 3 days, we're going to be in Mexico and Roatan and a couple different places. And I'm looking forward to scuba diving there. Outside of all of that, wine is a big passion of mine. I just sat for my level 3 USET sommelier test, and I'm thinking about doing my level 4. It's pretty difficult, but you can start asking me about regions in the world, and I can tell you about anything. I actually met this girl. I was talking to her at a conference last week, and I said, "Oh, your accent's interesting. You sound Australian, but not Australian." She says, "Well, I'm from New Zealand." And I said, "Are you from the North Island or the South Island?" And then we started talking about things, and we started talking about that she's from the Hawke's Bay. And I said, that's some of my favorite wines of the world come from the Hawke's Bay. And it all had to do with wine, but it allowed me to connect with somebody on the total other side of the world. I don't know. I like passionate things that bring people together. And I think aviation, wine, and scuba diving definitely does that.
That's cool. And I've done a lot of scuba. I love scuba. I've done 200 plus dives. I'm a rescue diver. The thing I did for the first time a couple of weeks ago, which was fun, was free diving.
Really? That sounds amazing. I watch all the videos and I don't know if I could do that. I can't hold my breath longer than maybe 30, 40 seconds right now.
That's all part of the training. That's the fun thing of it. And it's not about going to some ridiculous depth. I mean, forget the professionals, but it's fun. I definitely will do more of it. I actually really enjoyed it.
That's fantastic. I really think that breath work like that is it's a fantastic tool that you can use. I don't know how much breath work you've done and like Wim Hof type of stuff. I've done some of those things, and I was told that we held our breath for 6 minutes. And obviously, your body goes through different things and releases internal DMT, and you start to feel a certain way. And once you start breathing again, it's impactful. I'm a big fan of breath work, and I'm assuming that you have to do a lot of that as preparation for freediving. Am I correct in that thinking?
Yes. I haven't done enough freediving. I've only done 2 days of it. I mean, yes, if you want to get serious, you do a lot of that. But even on the 2 days, they teach you some breath work. But I've done a lot of Wim Hof and things like that, although Wim Hof actually doesn't work for freediving. But the idea is a similar idea. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the freediving. I wasn't really playing with that, but I have played with breath. Otherwise, I can do about 4.5 minutes quite easily, sort of holding my breath through different exercises. But yeah, I think breath work is a pretty powerful thing to do, and really, whether it's part of meditation or on its own, it can be meditation, but, doing proper breath work and really learning to oxygenate your body, I think is a pretty powerful tool. And also learning to calm your nervous system. If you're in a nervous situation, whether it be you're about to go scuba diving and you're scared of it, breath can really help you regulate and bring yourself back down.
It's something I taught my son. I had him go to one of these breath workshops with me one time, and he thought it was a little too rah-rah for him. He couldn't really get into it. I mean, some of those instructors, they go all out, right? And if you don't kind of give into it, you'll feel like an outsider, and he felt a little outsider. But he did get one calming breath work, and it had to do with taking deep breaths in and letting them out, and then going with one nostril in and one nostril out. And it works for him every time. And now whenever he gets all frustrated, I'll say, "Austin, remember the breath work." And he looks at me like, "I hate you, Dad." But he knows it's correct. And it always calms him down.
Yeah, there's a lot of different methodologies. Actually, a monk in India taught me a really simple one, which is just 3 breaths. It's a slow breath in, a slow breath out, but at half the speed of the breath in. And you do that 3 times. Sure, it's quick, it's easy, and just calms your whole system down. I love it. And, tell me what a balanced life looks for you. So it sounds like you've got a pretty balanced life, but if you're looking, across all these things, what does a balanced life look like?
Yeah, I mean, I've watched, you can see it if you go on LinkedIn and you look at their little short reels all the time, there's all these videos about work-life balance. And I don't think that work-life balance exists. I think that anybody thinks it does. They haven't figured out that it doesn't exist yet. It's more a work-life integration. Your work is part of your life, no matter what you think. When you go to an office or you go into Zoom calls 8 hours a day, it's not that you're going there and you're just getting a job done and you're leaving. That affects your whole entire life. I mean, even if you're a construction worker and you go home and you're not working on construction, you're still thinking about some of those things. So it's still going to be integrated into other parts of your life. If work is stressful at work, when you go home, your home life is going to be stressful and vice versa. So I really just try to look for contentment or happiness, whatever you want to call it, but contentment in each part of my life. And I integrate them throughout. I'll tell you this, if I know I have meetings really late at night with somebody in the other part of the world, like I did last night, I had a meeting with somebody in India really late. I just took a break a little bit earlier in the afternoon and I took some time for myself and And I read a little bit, and I try to integrate every part of my life. When I'm dating, everybody knows where I'm at in that part of my life. And hey, I need to take 30 minutes. I'll be right back. I come back and I can be fully focused and I'm fully integrated, but I need to make sure that I have very set, clear expectations for anybody who I'm around. I think the number one killer of all relationships, and I heard this somewhere, I can't give them credit because I forgot where I heard it, but I use it literally 5 times a week, and I talk about it all the time. I say the number one killer of relationships is unmet expectations. So if I have a spouse, or if I have a friend like you, Leo, or I have my son, and I make these claims and I set these expectations, if I don't follow through with them, I'm going to let that person down and I'm going to kill my own relationship. And it works in every single part of life. So I'm really big on setting those expectations and allowing them to flourish, and it creates great relationships.
Makes a lot of sense. I've not heard that direct one, but it definitely makes a lot of sense. And what's been a pivotal moment for you in your life?
I've had a lot of pivotal moments. I can look at some really fun ones that I can call pivotal. Obviously, having my son was a pivotal moment. I think it is for most people. It changes the whole trajectory of your entire life. But outside of kind of the family side, on the business side, I would say there's many, but there's one in particular that sticks in my mind. It happens to be a negative one, and I try to stay away from the negative stuff, but I think this one's powerful. When I owned my flight schools, I exited those a couple years ago, and now I'm kind of just doing some management in those schools on behalf of the owner. But when I owned those schools, everyone thought I was rich and I could do all these things because I had a brand new truck that was $60,000. And I owned a flight school that had a bunch of airplanes, which in reality, I just put every penny I made back into buying more airplanes so I can expand. I really didn't make very much money. I probably made $100,000 a year, which for some people, that's a lot of money. For a lot of people, it's not a lot of money. If you're living in California or Florida, it's not very much money, especially California. You can probably get food stamps in Orange County on $100,000 a year nowadays. But I had all of my staff essentially set up a coup, and almost everybody, and I had like 16 people, I think that 10 or 12 people all walked out in 1 day or 2 days on me. And they all went to start a flight school. They found an investor, bought a bunch of airplanes, and they all left. And they took all my clients. And the part that wasn't sad about me almost losing my business over that time was they actually killed aviation and killed the passion for aviation for so many students because they badmouthed me so much over things that weren't true. And they convinced them to go to this new flight school. What happened later was 3 months after that started, they went out of business. The investor was this big drug dealer, and there was this whole thing that went on, and it's all over the internet now, so I can talk about it. And a whole bunch of those students came back, but there's a whole bunch of people that lost their passion for aviation because they thought that was normal in this industry. And that made me really sad. And I look back at that, and that was definitely a pivotal moment. It showed me that I always am a little too trusting with people. I like to think that everybody's a good person inside until I know them. And so I learned a lot of lessons on that. And I ended up, my business still flourished. I was able to sell it a couple years later for almost what I wanted. And it was just a speed bump in life, and it didn't affect very much. But at that time, I was throwing up in a trash can, crying in my office. It was some of the worst pain I've ever felt. And I'm just happy that's passed. And that's just made me a stronger person nowadays. So hopefully that was an impactful story for you and your listener.
Certainly sounds it. And I think that's the entrepreneurial journey, the ups and downs, the successes and the failures in one form or another.
Absolutely.
And what's one piece of advice you can give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
I would say believe in yourself. You can actually do it, and you can get through whatever obstacle is in front of you. Honestly, if you really think outside the box, everything is solvable. And there's only one cause of stress. And the cause of stress is not knowing what the answer to the question is. I've had some issues that I've had to work on lately that have to do with millions of dollars. And I didn't know the answer. If these people told me the wrong answer, then it could hurt me or hurt my business or hurt my family or hurt my employees. It could hurt somebody, right? Not in a physical way, but in a financial way. And that happens in businesses all the time, by the way. People take bets on themselves. So if you could just face that fear, face that, whatever that problem is, and know that you can get through it, just be creative with it. It's probably not as bad as you think, and you'll be able to get through.
Perfect. How can people find you?
They can find me most likely, it's probably the easiest is on LinkedIn. Just search Brandon Martini. I'm the most handsome one on there. You'll see me right on top. I'm affiliated with Stratus Financial. You can also reach out to me at brandon@stratus.finance. And those would be the two best ways to go about it. Of course, you can find me on Aviation Mentors. We're on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere you are as well. So I'd really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Brandon. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Leo, it was fantastic to talk with you, and keep making great podcasts. Thanks so much for having me.
And thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, and please leave a review.